Christopher Columbus was an Italian explorer from Genoa, who completed 4 voyages across the Atlantic, sponsored by Spain, opening the Americas to European exploration and colonization. Christopher Columbus was born in Genoa between August and October 1451 to Domenico Colombo, a wool weaver, and Susanna Fontanarosa. He had 3 brothers and a sister, with Bartholomew later running a cartography workshop in Lisbon. Columbus likely spoke a Genoese dialect and began going to sea at 14. He apprenticed with wealthy Genoese families, traveled widely in Europe, and lived in Lisbon from 1477 to 1485, where he married Filipa Perestrello and had a son, Diego. He traded along the West African coast and, after Filipa's death, moved to Castile, taking a mistress, Beatriz Enriquez de Arana, with whom he had a second son, Fernando. Columbus was self-educated, learning Latin, Portuguese, and Castilian, and studied geography, astronomy, and history, including works by Ptolemy, Marco Polo, and others. Before 1453, Europeans used the Silk Road under the Mongol Empire to trade with Asia. After Constantinople fell to the Ottomans, the land route was blocked. In the 1470s, 1480s, Columbus and his brother proposed reaching Asia by sailing west. Encouraged by astronomer Toscanelli, though Portugal favored the route around Africa. By 1484, Columbus proposed his westward voyage to Portugal, but advisors rejected it as his distance estimates were far too low. After Bartolomeu Dias rounded the Cape of Good Hope in 1488, Portuguese interest waned. Columbus then turned to Spain, presenting his plan to Ferdinand and Isabella in 1486. Spanish experts also considered it impractical but provided him a small allowance and support while keeping him at court. He briefly sent his brother to England seeking sponsorship, but after delays and pirate capture, Columbus stayed at La Rabida Friary, receiving further Spanish support as he prepared to renew discussions. In 1492, Spain's Ferdinand and Isabella finally sponsored Columbus to seek gold, spices, a western route to Asia, and to spread Christianity. His motivations included wealth, religious goals, and millennialist beliefs, aiming to convert peoples and reclaim Jerusalem in line with biblical prophecy. Contrary to popular myth, educated Europeans knew the earth was spherical, and celestial navigation was already in use. Columbus, however, greatly underestimated the size of the earth and the distance to Asia due to errors in calculations, outdated sources, and misinterpretation of units. He relied on Ptolemy, Marco Polo, and Toscanelli, believing the westward route from the Canaries to Asia was only about a quarter of its actual distance, far shorter than any ship could realistically sail. Despite this, Spain's monarchs backed his voyage, hoping to gain an edge in trade with Asia. Though Columbus miscalculated distances to Asia, he skillfully used the trade winds, sailing west from the Canary Islands and returning by following the curving winds to catch the westerlies. He gained knowledge from Portuguese charts, his father-in-law's logs, and seafarers' tales, though his understanding of Atlantic winds was still imperfect. His westward route risked calm seas and hurricanes, which he avoided largely by luck. Between 1492 and 1504, Columbus made 4 voyages from Spain to the Americas, opening the continent to European exploration and the Columbian Exchange. On his first voyage, he mistakenly believed he had reached Asia and never fully accepted that the lands he claimed were a separate continent, which led to the Americas being named for Amerigo Vespucci instead of him. On the 3rd of August, 1492, Columbus left Spain with 3 ships, the Santa Maria, Pinta, and Niña, sailing first to the Canary Islands and then westward. On the 12th of October, land was sighted in the Bahamas, which Columbus named San Salvador. He encountered the Lucayan, Taíno, and Arawak peoples, took some prisoners, and explored Cuba and Hispaniola, where the Santa Maria ran aground, and he founded La Navidad. After brief clashes with the Cigueros, Columbus returned to Spain in March 1493 via Lisbon, bringing kidnapped natives, plants, and other items. His reports spread quickly across Europe, though he maintained he had reached Asia, and Papal and Spanish agreements soon divided overseas territories. On the 24th of September 1493, Columbus set sail from Cadiz with 17 ships and 1,500 men to establish colonies in the Americas. He explored the Caribbean, naming islands including Dominica, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, and returned to Hispaniola to find La Navidad destroyed. He founded La Isabela, but disease, famine, and conflicts with the Taíno killed many settlers. Columbus waged war on the natives, imposed the encomienda labor system, and enslaved thousands, sending some to Spain. After 2 years, he returned to Spain in June 1496. On the 30th of May 1498, Columbus left Spain with 6 ships, splitting the fleet near the Canary Islands. He explored Trinidad and the Paria Peninsula in present-day Venezuela, the first recorded European landing on South American mainland, before returning to Hispaniola on the 19th of August to find settlers in rebellion. Accusations of brutality led the Spanish crown to send Francisco de Bobadilla, who arrested Columbus and his brother Diego in October 1500 and sent them to Spain in chains. After 6 weeks in prison, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella restored their freedom and wealth, replacing Bobadilla with Nicolas de Ovando, and agreeing to fund Columbus's 4th voyage. On the 9th of May 1502, Columbus left Cadiz with 4 ships, including his brother Bartholomew and son Fernando. After stops in Morocco and the Canary Islands, he sailed to the Caribbean. Surviving a hurricane that destroyed most of the Governor Francisco de Bobadilla's fleet, he explored the coasts of Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica, searching for a strait to the Indian Ocean, and reached Almirante Bay in Panama. In 1503, storms damaged his ships off Cuba, forcing Columbus and 230 men to be stranded in Jamaica for 6 months. Using a predicted lunar eclipse to impress the locals, he secured their help until rescue arrived from Hispaniola on the 28th of June 1504. Columbus returned to Spain. On the 7th of November 1504, in his later years, Columbus became increasingly religious, producing the Book of Privileges 1502 to claim rewards from the crown, and the Book of Prophecies 1505 to frame his explorations in biblical terms. He repeatedly demanded his 10th of the riches from the Americas, but the crown rejected his claims, leading to long legal disputes after his death. Plagued by illness, possibly reactive arthritis, Columbus suffered fevers, eye bleeding, temporary blindness, and joint pain, sometimes bedridden for months. After his final voyage, he settled in Seville and later Segovia, persistently petitioning the crown for his privileges. Columbus died in Valladolid on the 20th of May 1506, aged 54. Columbus's remains were initially buried in Valladolid, then moved to Seville, Santo Domingo, and possibly Havana, before some were returned to Seville Cathedral. In Santo Domingo, a lead box discovered in 1877 contained bones claimed to be his. Later moved to the Columbus Lighthouse. In colonial America, Columbus was celebrated by Puritans as a model of a developing American spirit. After the Revolution, he became a symbol for national identity, inspiring the female personification Columbia, as well as place names like Columbia, South Carolina, and the Columbia River. The Republic of Columbia was also named after him, reflecting revolutionary ideals. Columbus's 400th anniversary in 1892 to 1893 was widely commemorated. with the world's Columbian Exposition, U.S. stamps and coins, and monuments in Spain. His 500th anniversary in 1992 saw further international recognition, including special stamps and world expos. The Bowl Mansion Museum in Pennsylvania preserves Columbus family artifacts, including a 16th-century chapel from Spain. Columbus Day, observed in many countries, marks his arrival in the Americas on the 12th of October, 1492. Columbus's voyages marked a turning point in history, initiating globalization and lasting contact between the hemispheres. The Columbian exchange brought animals, plants, diseases, technologies, and ideas across the Atlantic. Initially forgotten due to his administrative failures, Columbus re-emerged in literature and later became a symbol of Western colonization and empire. In the U.S., he was celebrated as a national myth and icon of American genesis, exemplified by monuments like the Discovery of America sculpture, which reflected 19th-century views of racial hierarchy. Later, immigrants such as Italians, Irish, and Jews adopted Columbus as an ethnic hero, and Catholics sought his canonization. From the 1990s onward, narratives highlighting his role in indigenous genocide and environmental destruction gained prominence, emphasizing the catastrophic impact of European conquest and disease on native populations. Although Columbus is often credited in Western culture as the European discoverer of America, Norse explorers reached North America nearly 500 years earlier, with evidence of a c. 1000 settlement at Lonso Meadows in Newfoundland, supporting accounts of Leif Erikson's Vinland, while some 19th-century scholars suggested Columbus might have known of these settlements. Most modern historians believe his voyage was an independent discovery. European narratives historically framed Native Americans and the discovery to suit Eurocentric views. Critics like Edmundo O'Gorman argue the idea that Columbus discovered America is a later myth popularized by writers such as Washington Irving, reinforcing European dominance. Some, like Felix Fernandez Shaw, suggest using encounter instead of discovery to include the perspective of indigenous peoples. What are your thoughts on the story of Christopher Columbus? Did his journey inspire you, or raise questions about history and leadership? Drop your opinions and reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear your voice. And if you found this story inspiring, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content, and watch our other inspirational life stories videos, where we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of remarkable individuals. Thank you.